In this video, I'm going to give you a quick tour of all of the key places that you're going to need to know about in your first year, just so you have a bit of an idea of what to expect. This will include some major lecture rooms, some important offices, and some really important places to find some information. I'm starting off by walking up to the science site from the traffic lights, just before the library. The science site can be a really big and confusing place, so let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the library, Bill Bryson or the Billy B. It's the first big building that you normally see when arriving into the science site, and it's a really good place to go if you need to get on some quiet work or just smash out the last bit of your summatives. It's got 4 floors, a load of computers, some printing facilities, a small cafe, group and individual study rooms, IT support, and thankfully lots and lots of books. You can take them home with you, use them to study from, make notes off of, or even just have a quick read and find some more interesting things which haven't been covered in the lectures. The physics department is split into 3 separate areas: the Ogden Centre, known as OC, the new Ogden Centre, or Ogden West, which is known as OCW, and the Rochester Building, which is known as PH. The Ogden Centres are primarily filled with lecture offices and some postgrad students, whereas the Rochester block is where you spend most of your time. So this is what the department looks like when you first get inside. There's the reception directly to your right, which can help with directing you if you have any general inquiries, such as finding lecture offices or just looking who to speak to. Next to the lift, which sadly isn't commonly available for student use, we have a few useful plaques on the wall. The physics department has quite an odd layout. Even numbered rooms or offices are on the one side on the left, and the odd numbered ones are on the other. This can be a bit confusing, but eventually you'll definitely get used to it. The first lecture room that you'll notice will be PH8, which is a pretty common room to have some of your first year lectures in. Going to the right of the reception, we find a little room tucked away, which is where Adrian Skelton lives. He's the teaching administrator and will frequently pop up in your emails. There's also a really cheap and surprisingly good coffee machine. For 40p, you can grab a quick pick-me-up if that night out includes left you feeling particularly fragile, just in time for your 9 AM lectures. Going left from the reception, we find PH30, another room which you might have some lectures in throughout the year. However, the really important thing around here will be right around the corner. This little room has 2 really important things in the department: the undergraduate notice board and the homework lockers and shelves. Every week in first year, you'll be set weekly problems for every module that you do in physics. You'll find these problems on the physics portal. You need to do them on a bit of A4 paper and then put them in these lockers once you're done, labelled by your name and group number. After a week or so, you should come back and then collect your work, where you'll find it marked and with some feedback written on it as well. Even though it might seem like it could be annoying, a lot of the exam questions are actually heavily based on the questions that you do for homework, so it's well worth taking a look at where you went wrong and making sure that your core understanding is okay. The next thing is the undergraduate information board, which contains loads of details about the timetable of modules and the location of lectures. It also has some information about the general schedule of topics which you're going to cover. For your lab module though, there's a different place to go, which I'm going to show you now. So now we've come up to the first floor, which is where you're going to have a lot of your lab experiments throughout the year. Right at the end of the corridor, there's a similar notice board to the floor below, which contains a lot of information about your labs in particular. You'll be split into groups, and each group is assigned a different lab day. You need to come here every week to check exactly what experiment your group has been assigned, so that you can do the relevant prep work for it. There's a weekly rota, and each group is going to end up doing all the experiments, but just at different times. The first floor also has a lot of rooms that might be used for your tutorials, which are also one of the other teaching methods used for physics in Durham. It's well worth just noting down some of the locations of any rooms that you'll need to know throughout the year, just so you don't turn up late after getting lost in the department. Nobody wants to be the one walking into a lab session or a lecture 15 minutes late. Back at the top of the stairs of the first floor, we have a corridor which ultimately leads to the Ogden Centre. Some of your lecturers might be in there, as mentioned earlier, but importantly, both Marek Zableski and Tom Lancaster both have their offices down this corridor. If you have any questions about first year, these are two great people to ask for help. After leaving the physics building, we're now approaching the Kalman Learning Centre, or the CLC. This has one of the biggest lecture theatres in Durham, and is a really common place to go for some of your bigger lectures. The CLC has a Starbucks cafe, and it's also got a weirdly named Techno Cafe, which actually doesn't serve any food. It's really just a room, one floor up, full of desks and computers. You can eat and talk in there, unlike the library, and it's also quite a good place to get on with some quiet work. The stairs to the higher floors of the Kalman Centre are found through the cafe. You can follow the staircases up if you have any classes in the other rooms, such as CLC 201. Finally, we've walked down to chemistry, which you can see just behind us there in that corridor. However, the building which we're really interested in is used for programming, which forms a part of the Discovery Skills module, or the lab module in physics. This building's got a load of computer rooms, so you don't even need to bring your own laptop if you want to do any coding with the department. The chemistry department also joins into the maths block, so if you have any math modules this year, then you'll definitely become quite familiar with walking between the two. And that's basically it. I hope the video has been useful and has given you a bit of a sense of where the important things in the department are. If you have any questions at all about the course or about the science site, please feel free to ask Marek, Tom, or any of your other first year lecturers or tutors. We're all genuinely here to help you. Once you've been here for a little while, I guarantee you'll be finding a way around with no problems at all.